And now, the last broadcast of the Effluvium theme. Well, this is it. We've come to the end of the line after 3 seasons. Effluvium, listen to me. I'm getting all choked up. Effluvium is coming to a close on YouTube. It's been a great run. I've been fascinated with this experiment. It has changed. The whole format has changed. And it's interesting to see its progression over these 3 years. And I just feel like now is as good a time as any to see it come to a close. I feel like my mission has been accomplished. I've done what I wanted to do. I have interviewed a lot of great people. I have had some fascinating and challenging discussions, and I think it's a great body of work. I'm proud of it, and without all of the guests that I have had and panelists over the past 3 seasons, it wouldn't have had much value, because I never really felt quite comfortable just sitting in front of a camera and talking without having more of a role from other people in the community and listening to them and sharing ideas and maybe even debating ideas. And I think it's just been excellent. So here's to a new chapter. I am focusing my energy on Substack. And I have a small but loyal audience over there in the first month that I've been posting at Substack. And I encourage each and every one of you to head over there. It is JJ Colborn at Substack. Well, not at Substack, .substack.com. So that's, I actually should just put the link in here, and I'll do that right now. And head over there, subscribe. You can be a paid subscriber. I will still be doing content for paid subscribers only. I'm just looking to have enough of an audience before I start to do that. And here is the link to my Substack. So I do plan to have discussions there as well. And I've been already talking to different perfumers, people in the industry, retailers, the fellas who have opened up Stele in New York City. I will be interviewing the 2 of them on my Substack. So there's a lot of things to look forward to there. It's just it isn't a simple explanation as to why I'm exiting YouTube at the capacity that I've been doing it for the past 3 years. But I think when I bring Alex in and we start talking, I'll go into further detail about that and really help you to understand, why I'm making this new move. We're going to take a look at the chat here. And Pat Lester, thank you for being here for the final episode of Effluvium. And Salvador, my good friend. It has been a great run. Substack should be exciting. I just need to gain the momentum, and hopefully I'll have a really good following over there. And people will be updated here on YouTube as to my goings about over at Substack as well. There will be previews of certain videos. Well, not videos necessarily. I'll still be doing videos here. I'm not retiring the YouTube channel. I want to do videos periodically here and just focused on recorded videos. But live stream or podcast format stuff, I'll do some previews here, direct people over to my Substack. So you'll see some of that here as well. And I'm still on the fence as to whether or not the podcast will be called Effluvium over there, or if I will use the name still in some sort of iteration or capacity. And hi, Professor Value. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, and I'm glad that you could tune in. We currently have 9 people tuned in, and I appreciate all 9 of you. And that is yet another reason why I think it's time for me to close this chapter, is I'm not really getting the kind of viewership that maybe I'd hoped to. But part of that is my responsibility, because it's very difficult for me to find the time and the energy and the resources to promote my YouTube channel in a way that would gather more of an audience. And as many of you may imagine, it involves doing some things that are not really pleasant and having to exert a lot of energy with, possibly not the results that you hope to receive. So rather than really pushing myself to try to gain that audience here, I just wanted to move it to a different platform, and a platform that seems like something I'm more comfortable with. So we're going to bring in Alex in a couple of minutes. He and I are going to reminisce over the series, take a look back at some of the highlights. He was there from the very beginning. He was the first guest back in September of 2022. So I figured it would be appropriate to have him return for the final episode. So I'm very happy that he could join me for this. We're also going to be talking about perfume, because that's what this is primarily about. And we're going to talk about herbal fragrances. So fragrances that feature aromatic herbs. And we'll discuss some of our favorites in that genre. As is typical, it was hard for me to narrow it down. And I think I managed to narrow it down to a reasonable amount of fragrances to discuss. Once again, I do want to thank all of you for supporting me over the years. It has been really a great run here. And I'm glad that I could send to you goodies, through buying me a coffee, or 5 or 6 or 12 or however many. And that campaign had come to an end. Pat Lester, actually, who's tuned in, received the final 4 bottle grab bag offer from the last episode. He received the last one. So there is still 6 cups gets you a sample pack, and that's US only, please. So if you do want to buy me 6 coffees, you can get a generous sample pack from the enormous, just like overwhelming amount of samples that I have that I no longer need to keep. So why don't we bring in Alex, and everybody welcome him. I'm glad to have him back. Okay, let's bring him on in. Hello.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here as always. Okay, better.
Can you believe it's been almost 3 years since I started doing this, huh?
Actually, not. Actually, it looks like yesterday.
Doesn't it feel like it? Yeah.
I remember even the first Effluvium episodes on Instagram.
The Instagram live Effluvium.
Yeah.
That's only the hardcore folks remember that, because that was a while back. Yeah, I used to do Effluvium on Instagram. That was sort of like the pilot run of the series. I was kind of messing around with the idea and doing Instagram lives, and you were one of my guests for that as well. That was between December of 2021 until about May of 2022 before I started the channel.
I remember
Yeah,
it was Sebastian, there was Perseles,
yeah,
there has been Timo,
yeah. A lot of the
Dalia.
Dahlia, yeah, a lot of the stars of the community, many of them which appeared again on this version of the series as well. So yeah, it goes back, and I feel like back then I didn't know nearly as much, and I didn't really feel as well as grounded either. But I guess any of us are kind of new to sharing our hobby online can be in a similar situation like I was back in like 2020, 2021. Um, so why don't we just start? I don't know, like how much can we reminisce about? What do you think about the way that it's evolved over the past 3 years? Like, do you remember what the first season? First season was really different, right?
Yeah, first season was more probably focused. Well, it was not a one-on-one series like
Yeah,
now. We had more people. Well, not the bunch that was in other streams. It was always more kind of a controlled environment, and was more maybe focused on reviewers, enthusiasts like me, like Rachel, like Chris, Lanier, Dahlia, and then it evolved with more people in the business,
yeah. It's funny how even
like journalists,
right.
perfumers. Yeah.
It's funny how it changed within that season too, because early on, I think because I was so new to the live stream concept, I was sort of modeling it after what I'd already seen. Like
Yeah, I know.
Dan, Mr. Smelly doing a panel, and it started off with just people who created content or appeared on other live streams, and then I decided to shift my focus to inviting people in the community who don't necessarily appear on YouTube and giving them a platform and
Yeah,
giving them an opportunity. And I think that's where it really sort of found its footing, like that
yeah,
second half
that's
of that
what
season.
actually set it apart from other live streams in which those people never appeared because they had no occasion. Basically, back then it was just us moving from one live stream to another, more or less. So it was just that kind of a group, and then you set things apart with people that are external from these live stream groups.
Yeah, and I think that was really what helped it to stand out is people were getting an opportunity to hear voices that don't normally appear
Yeah,
on YouTube,
yeah,
and
exactly.
yeah, it was great. And like the second season was really cool. Rachel was my co-host, and then the third season I decided to really strip it down, as we see here, and do one-on-ones and really have like richer conversations between two people, between me and a guest. And that's been a really cool sort of experimented as well. And I think it was very successful in its own way. The only exception was the last one, where the one and only time I ever had an open platform and shared the live stream link, and it turned out to be success. It went without a hitch. We had great people who tuned in, and that was a lot of fun. I thought it was a great way to, great send off for the series as well. Is now it's your opportunity to be on Effluvium and to have some folks who have been tuning in regularly for a while to jump on and talk. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah,
still have to catch up on that because I was working that night
yeah,
and I had a difficult night, and so I just managed to watch here and there a couple of minutes. But I have still have now that I'm on holiday, I will have time to catch
yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah. It was a really good one. It was fun. It was fun. I think it's funny how I resisted doing that the entire series, and it was like on a whim because I had a cancellation that day, the original guest, and I'm like, what am I going to do with this one? Because I don't want to reschedule it. I just want to wrap up the series. So I decided to do that. I decided to do the one thing I promised never to do and see how it turned out, and ended up being really fun. So. Well, why don't we get started? Oh, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that would be a very difficult thing for me to do. I mean, do a live stream without scheduled guests, because you don't know if someone would show up or not, and I don't know if I could talk for an hour by myself. So.
Yeah, I had to do something because I couldn't find another guest. So it worked out well in that respect. At least I had some other people to interact with. So let's talk about some fragrance. Let's do this for old time's sake.
Yeah.
So herbs. What is your favorite herbal, like your favorite herb in a fragrance? Sorry about that noise.
In a fragrance, my favorite herb is vetiver an herb.
More root, but some people could argue that it smells herbal depending upon what it's with. I guess if we're speaking strictly an herb, as in something that comes from an aromatic leaf, so there's still some looseness to that too. You could argue that patchouli is an herb,
Well, patchouli can be one.
Yeah.
Basil. Easily.
Basil, yeah, that's one I really
Basil
enjoy.
is very interesting also because I see herb. Being an amateur cook, I like to cook. I mean, I'm not a chef by any means, but I love to cook. I always done that. It's interesting to see herbs from both point of views, because, for example, basil, but also in fragrances, I guess. Basil has a scent profile and a taste profile that is very similar to clove, for example.
It's true, because there's a little bit of eugenol. Like if you're looking at the chemical components, there is some eugenol in basil. So you have a little bit of that cloviness in it, for sure.
But the vibe that they give to a fragrance or to a dish are completely different.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I think that, not to get nerd out more on the chemical constituents, but that caryophyllene that's in the clove that's the spice. That's the spice in the clove. Whereas with the basil, you have these other fresh aromatic compounds. Yeah. Yeah.
Then another one that I love in both worlds and which is very typical for us because it grows here, rosemary.
Yes.
Thyme.
Mm-hmm.
Thyme to me always smells like home, because here in Trieste we have wild thyme growing everywhere. And so it's basically our main plants that grow in our back country are thyme, junipers, and and laurel, so bay leaf.
Yes, bay leaf for sure.
Yeah, bay leaf is a bit tricky because it's very potent and it can overpower easily everything.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's spicy, but it comes from a leaf rather than like a fruit or a seed. Yeah, it's very cool.
From that point of view, also coriander is very interesting because to me, but maybe it's just my taste. It tastes like roasted chicken.
Yeah,
it has that kind of smokiness and that kind of roasty scent profile, but in fragrances it's quite a bit different.
It is, and I think it depends on what it's surrounded by. It's the same thing with thyme and rosemary. Some people get a very culinary, savory feel from both of those, but I just love them in fragrance. You pair those with the citrus and some of the other aromatics, and even maybe some florals, and it brings out certain qualities in it that you may not necessarily always notice if it happens to be in an Epicurean sort of setting, you know?
Oh, I was forgetting another spice that smells like home because it grows here everywhere: cumin and wormwood. Artemisia, absinthe, call it like you want, but it's the base for the bitter liquors that we like, Jägermeister.
Right. Yeah, absinthe. Yeah. Wormwood could definitely be considered an herb because it comes from, the leaves of the it's a type of Artemisia, actually.
Yeah.
So Artemisia absinthium is the wormwood that's used in absinthe, but there's several other types of wormwood as well, other species.
Davana.
Mugwort or armoise. Yeah. For sure.
They have that kind of anistic licorice profile.
They do, but it's sort of like an intersection between coniferous, piney, green, sappy, and camphorous with that licorice anisic kind of feel. Like, I love it. I shared a review recently on my Instagram of Haze from Acro, which I am amused with the concept because I don't get cannabis from that. And thankfully I don't, because I don't like the idea of a realistic cannabis accord in a fragrance.
Maybe because also I don't like the idea of smelling like a junkie. But I think that what we associate with the idea of junkies is the smell of burnt cannabis.
Yeah,
while
Mm-hmm.
the fresh cannabis is kind of minty. In fact, haze to me smells like dark, strong mint.
Yeah, there's an aspect to it that reminds me of, like, not necessarily peppermint or spearmint, but like catmint or those other kinds of mint, like corn mint, like mint that is very sharp. Yeah. I pick up a dark, sharp kind of mint. I'm just going to turn our attention to the chat here and just bring this up here. And Scent Explorer, hello. Oh man, speaking of herbs, I just got Healy Cologne Officinal in the mail today, and it's so nice. Professor Value says basil, yes. And Lunar Angst says lavender. Yes, lavender can be considered an herb as well. And Will, great to see you. Scent of the day, Joe Malone, Emerald Time. That is appropriate for the theme. I'm going with cumin. From Justin, Scent Explorer says, love bay leaf and got to smell it in its native form in Barbados. Clary sage is so incredible. Yes, clary sage, and also white sage, the sage that we associate, with cuisine or smudge sticks. There's some great sage fragrances. There's one in particular that I'm pleased to share with people. I'm going to be actually sharing a review of it this week online. In the usual places, including Instagram. Absurd Nose, lovely to have you tuning into the live broadcast. So, with that being said, what is the first herbaceous fragrance that you would like to share with us? Because you'll take the lead, and maybe what I'll do is I will respond with something in a similar category.
Well, I start with one of my oldest loves, basically one of the first niche fragrances that I bought, and As you can see, I bought it many years ago because it's still in the old bottle. And the herb is verbena. And this is green Irish tweed.
All right, let's take a look. Yes.
Yeah, now it comes in a black bottle, but this is the old one.
That was the one I remember first seeing.
Yeah, and this is very green, and the verbena gives a kind of a citrusy touch, but that does more than does violet, I guess, that gives kind of a wet, I won't say aquatic because I don't see it as an aquatic fragrance, but it's kind of wet, gives you the idea of a meadow in the morning when it's kind of wet for the morning dew. And those smell of herbs and greenery is quite prominent. To me, it's very classy and still a beautiful fragrance.
Yeah, I like that you chose something with the lemon verbena because that is an herb as well. It is grown in an herb garden. And the thing about lemon verbena, I think some people who are not familiar, yeah, who are not familiar with lemon verbena, is that it just doesn't smell like lemon. It is like kind of, it has its own profile. It's a very green, leafy, aromatic, herbaceous, lemony scented, but it's just like when you smell lemon verbena, you'll know it. You can discern it from a lemon oil or a lemon juice. It's been a staple in aromatic fragrances and colognes for ages. So I like that you chose that one. That's sort of like a kind of a curveball.
And disclaimer, because there will be some disclaimers in this live stream. Lemon verbena is different from lemongrass.
Oh yeah, it's definitely different from that too. All the lemony scented herbs have their own profile. It's not like, this is just another thing that smells like a lemon. Yeah.
as we have discussed in a private chat with how many people mistake parsley for coriander because they have kind of similar leaves, but the scent profile is totally different. And some people also mistake lemon verbena for lemongrass. They are totally different things.
Totally different.
I mean, if the fact that the leaves may look similar, I mean, also immortelle and rosemary, apart from that immortelle is lighter in color, but they look kind of similar.
The leaves, because they're elongated.
This stem with this kind of needles, but they are totally different plants.
Entirely different. I don't even think they're related. It was like convergent evolution. That they happen to have those longer.
And leaves. Even when you cook with them, I mean, rosemary is very easy. It's like more or less like parsley. You can put it everywhere, and it will. Immortelle is difficult. I mean, it's very, very bitter.
Yeah, I don't recall learning about too much immortelle being used as in flavorings.
It can be used while cooking chicken, and because chicken has not a very pronounced taste. The meat is not so tasty, so it has to be pushed with something, and an intense herb is usually good, and so you can use thyme, you can use immortelle, but you
That's
have to
fascinating.
be,
I didn't know about that.
yeah, you have to be wary of not exceeding because it has very. I mean, in perfumery, you use the flower, I guess.
I think most of the oil comes from the flower, but
Yeah.
I think they use other parts of the plant as
While in cooking, you don't use
the flower.
the flour. You use the needles, and they are very bitter.
So you're mentioning time, though. It prompted me to take this out. This is a release from last year from Serge Lutin's Point du Jour.
Hmm.
And this is very much a time forward fragrance. Like, you have to appreciate time to get into this. So if you're a little on the fence about time in a perfume and a fragrance, you're kind of okay with it being a supporting note, but you don't really want it to be front and center, then you might shrink at the idea of something like Point du Jour. But it's beautiful. It's very, I love this whole line because it's very apothecary, spa kind of oriented.
Yeah, I have a sample of Dan Le Bois Kipetille, the
Yeah,
aquatic one.
now that is a great kind of marine
Yeah.
scent, but also has that eucalyptus. Very nice. This has like kind of like a camphor's quality to it as well, like a eucalyptus as well, but it's really about this very realistic time accord in it, with some clary sage to support it. And it is truly an aromatic. It is a minimalist aromatic. I find it to be really invigorating in warm weather. And yes, it is a full bottle because I think I the reason why I mentioned that, I got a couple of comments on my YouTube channel. Did I mention this to you? There's somebody who left a couple comments. Why are all your bottles full? How can you talk about fragrance when your bottles are full? It's just more of that gatekeeping mentality. Well, I don't really see that it's anybody's business how much or how little somebody uses their fragrances.
Wow. Try to empty bottles when you have 800.
Yeah.
Good luck. Good luck.
Right. I sometimes just like smelling them out of the bottle. I just spray them onto a paper and smell them if they translate well. I put them on me. But yeah, that's why I wanted to be smart. Yeah, it's kind of full, right? Because I've only worn it a couple of times since I got it last year. But there are a lot of enthusiasts who can relate to that. But I'm actually going to be doing a follow-up post on that on my Substack, talking about full bottle or the anxiety of not having a full bottle. But I'm actually going to put some on. Oh, it's not going to be full anymore. So congratulations. Now I finally, have some sort of credibility in talking about fragrances because I'm actually using it, right? It smells so good though. And there is kind of like an interesting kind of like incensey background. And not that I know this for certain, but my nose sort of picks up on maybe some molybdenum that was used kind of on the sly that isn't really part of the pyramid. But it's very much like a fresh thyme at the top with some eucalyptus leaf. Really nice stuff.
For time, I will mention a couple. I don't have the bottles here because they are in the other room, and there's my girlfriend sleeping there, so I won't disturb her. And they are one classic from the 80s, Basile Uomo.
Basile. Oh yeah, I have it right here. I have this bottle.
That's a time bomb.
Yeah.
You have to not to like time, to positively crave for it.
Right. I'm going to get some scent strips because I'm going to want to do some smelling of this stuff too as we talk about it. So this is Basile. Is it just Basile?
Basile
Uomo.
Yeah.
Basile Uomo. I don't want to spray too much on me, so I'm going to put this on and for people who didn't see it, there's the bottle there. But this is really a great aromatic, and it has quite an array of different things going on in it, along with those green herbs.
Yeah,
And this is
it's an 80s fragrance, so you have at least 40 or 50 notes into that. But
right,
to
right.
me, time is quite prominent.
Yeah, yeah. The thyme is quite prominent, but also there's a spiciness that's prominent
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
There's a basil, rosemary, but it's also
Pepper,
spicy.
pepper.
Yeah, yeah. And a greenness to it as well. Like sort of a stemmy greenness, a mossiness.
Moss, moss for sure, and vetiver.
Yeah.
Das vetiver,
But
wood,
that's this,
pine.
yeah. The citruses.
Then later on, after the citruses and the herbal start to dial down a bit, you get more a coniferous vibe with that.
I want to redirect my attention over here. Scott Bear, hello, JJ. The Perfume Temple, an ending today, but an evolution of your work, which is never bad. Thank you so much, Scott. And thank you for subscribing to the Substack already. It's much appreciated. I got a notification of that recently. Scent of the day, Molecule 01 plus ginger. And JD, greetings. Thoughts on Monsieur Bien-Aimé? If any heard good things, it's got verbena as well. Cheers, a beautiful verbena, as a matter of fact. I don't know, JD, if you already follow me on Instagram. I did share a review of Monsieur Bien-Aimé just a couple of weeks ago. You could scroll a little bit back there. You could see it on Base Notes or on Fragrantica. It is a splendid fragrance. Very well done. Emily, lovely to see you as well. A little late, but I'm here for the finale. I have very much enjoyed these conversations, JJ. You're always a bright spot in my day. That means a great deal to me. That warms my heart. Thank you so much, Emily. Yeah, Basile is Basile. That was more sort of an accessible fragrance to those who were on a tighter budget, right?
It's still around 10 euros,
Yeah.
10, 12 bucks.
And if I recall, like it was a pretty renowned perfumer who worked on it, or am I wrong with that?
I don't remember actually. Let me check.
I know the bottle was, I think, designed by Pierre Dinan. It's really nice.
I don't see any perfumer on Fragrantica, but
I'm going back and forth with the Point du Jour on my wrist and smelling the Basile Uomo.
Yeah, and the other one is more or less in the same category because it's oldie, but it's still very good today. Still very, very cheap, and it's Jaguar Pour-Homme. Jaguar Pour-Homme. If you miss the original Lacoste, or
yeah, I have
my favorite Fougère. That's it doesn't smell like Tsar or Lacoste exactly, but it's in that ballpark, and time is also a component.
Right.
Maybe what shines more in Jaguar is probably oak moss and pine, but it's definitely very herbal in the beginning.
Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, we have an announcement to make. An announcement to be made here. It is a boop. A boop. Hi there, Derek. Veranis Rodari. Boop to you too. Thank you for tuning in. So, I also have another one. Carlo Cornito. Yeah, this is another one in a similar vein. Quite nice. I can do sort of a comparison on on a scent strip here. This one's a little woodier, from what I recall, more sagey.
I have it probably here.
Hear that? That's a good spray when you can hear that. Ooh. Yeah, this one's a lot woodier, but still herbaceous.
I thought I had it there, but no, this is Leonard. I don't have it, but I had a sample of the vintage one, but I don't remember where I put it. Usually they are always here at hand. But
yeah, this one is a lot woodier. It's a lot like it's like the herbs and the citrus is cradling the cedar, and it's more leathery too. I really enjoy it though. Carlo Corinto. There. It sits there very nicely next to Basile Uomo.
Yeah, another one of those 80s Italian designers that were not so popular as Armani, Versace, or Valentino.
So distinct. At first, I thought it was just going to be like, oh, this is probably just like another version of like a Basile Uomo, but it's very distinct.
Yeah.
It has like more like a rustic kind of herbal. Like the thyme is even more forward in the top note. Very cool. Oh, Jean-Qui Scent. Thank you for tuning into the live broadcast, the live final broadcast of Effluvium. Scent of the day is Diva from Ungaro. And Derek says, when I spray the vintage Revson Ciara concentration 100, it literally goes, awooga. How about basil? Let's go get into our basils. Do you have a basil to talk about?
Actually, I don't have anything here that smells like basil, but maybe I'll get something. You start, then
I can start.
I will think about.
Well, one basil that is a favorite of mine, and it's unfortunately discontinued. And has been for some time, and it is from Diptyque, and it is called Virgilio. And Virgilio is beautiful basil fragrance. I think it was discontinued maybe 13 years ago, 12 years ago. I don't know exactly. It has been a while. And this one is very nice. This is a very earthy sort of basil. It has like caraway with it as well. So it's pretty much just like basil and caraway and the interplay between the two of them. And then it dries down to some woods and vetiver. Really well done. I love these sort of like more minimalist approaches to aromatics that we would see in the early 2000s, in the 90s and early 2000s. I think, as a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, this was released in the 90s. You know, there were these releases from brands like Diptyque. I'm looking at this now. This was actually released in 1990, believe it or not. So really a very beautiful basil and caraway mixing with each other. So caraway, if you are familiar, you may be familiar if you enjoy cooking with caraway or baking with caraway. And caraway is often confused with cumin. They're adjacent, but they're not exactly the same. Some people think that they are the same, but they're not. And it's warmer and woodier, and it's spicy, and it has a little bit of that. I don't want to say yeasty, because that sounds kind of gross, like yeasty. It has that, I think, because we have such an association with caraway being used in baked breads, baked goods, that it gives that sort of baked quality in a composition. I love when it's used in Irish soda bread. I do appreciate it in rye with caraway. It's just a really beautiful composition. And yeah, if you can find a bottle of this and it isn't an arm and a leg, you can, as I always recommend, you can do a saved search on your favorite selling platform, marketplace, and then see if Diptyque Virgilio, Virgilio, comes up. Make sure it's a reputable seller. Make sure you're not spending $400 on it, because you don't have to. You shouldn't. But if it's a good price and it looks like it's in good condition and you love basil, you'd be really happy with this. So that's a basil. What's yours?
Yeah, I found one. It's quite recent, but very noteworthy. It's Hermes Eau de Basilic Purple.
Eau de Basilic Purple.
Yeah. And it's very interesting. It's very fresh, summery vibe, uplifting. It has, well, as citrus opening, bergamot, but it's not so noticeable. It goes directly to the herbal, to the basil, and to kind of a rosy balsamic geranium. It's also slightly floral, but not so much that's piercing, and that kind of floral that becomes heavy in summer with hot weather.
Yeah, like it just really clings to the air when it's humid. Yeah.
Like spraying Amarillo in summer.
Yeah.
Okay, right. You get that.
Or like Isatis.
No, but we were going around testing fragrances today, and someone had the idea of spraying Amarillo on the blotter. I say, stay away from me with that. It's 28 degrees outside.
Oh, God.
I don't want to smell that.
Right.
No, this never goes into heavy floral. I mean, the geranium is more the minty balsamic with a slightly rosy touch in the background, but it's still very fresh, very refreshing, very suitable for summer. It's very good.
And just mention that again for those who have just tuned in.
Oh, yeah. Eau de Basilic Purple by Hermes.
There you have it. From Hermes, Eau de Basilic Purple. Very nice.
Yeah. And the only problem with this, like all the Hermes Eau de Colognes, is that, of course, it's not made to be a beast mode.
Right. Well, you can't please them all, right?
No, you can't expect. Well, on my skin and skin. I mean, let's set it now properly. How much a fragrance lasts is 80% your skin chemistry.
A lot of it does have to do with that, and I think people forget that. And another component of that is your brain's tendency to want to cancel out things and information that it doesn't deem important anymore. So you get hyposmic or anosmic to something a lot faster than maybe somebody who is just running into you after a few hours, and they may say, "Oh, what is that nice scent? It smells kind of like a sweet basil." And you're like, oh, you can smell that? I can't smell it anymore. I can't tell you how many times that's happened. Where I'm no longer detecting it. This is a concept that shouldn't really go over the heads of people, but apparently it does. Like your brain just adapts to stimuli. It adapts to that information and decides this information is no longer relevant to me. So I'm going to set it aside, and I'm not going to receive the signals anymore because I'm going to redirect my attention to other things that might be headed my way. So when people are talking about like, oh, I'd love to have a citrus fragrance or an herbal fragrance that lasts a long time, they should ask themselves, is it because they don't think it lasts a long time? Or has it been proven that other people say they don't smell it on them? I mean, maybe they don't smell it on them, but are they nuzzling up to you? Are they hugging you? Are they getting intimate with you? All that talk about performance, like you can dissect that and deconstruct it, and then you realize just how silly it ends up being. It's like, well, what is really your intention for enjoying a fragrance? Like, do you not enjoy it as much if you don't smell it? You know, you're never going to smell the same thing for 4 hours straight. I guarantee you that. And even if you do still detect something 4 hours later, it's not the same thing that you detected 4 hours before that. Like, it's like, I don't
Yeah,
know. These are a lot of
and
questions that I have about what people want out of fragrance. Like, do they
the
want?
main concept is you just you spray the back of your hand, you smell the back of your hand. 6 hours later, you probably still can smell, or 8 hours later, you still can smell this, but people around you don't. And if that's your concern, ask them to buy you a bottle so you can spray it whenever you want. But
And put a
my
ton of
friend,
it on
I
your
buy my
clothes.
bottle. I have to smell it. It's me, not the other people around me. I don't care if they can smell it or not.
As long as I
I
can.
have to smell it.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, but it does speak to the many different types of appreciators of fragrance. Like, what are we appreciating fragrance for? What is it that we want from fragrance? What is the satisfaction that we get out of perceiving it and noticing it and being present with it? Um, I think once you just embrace the reality that it is by its very nature ephemeral, then you'll probably just start enjoying it more because you don't cling on to this idea of if only it lasted more, if only it was stronger, if only other people noticed me, if only I could get that same think about other things in life where it doesn't work that way and we don't complain about it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Do we
it's
want a
not the
meal to
end.
last for 2 hours? Do we want to do we want to keep on eating and enjoying? Like, think about that. Like, if you keep eating something after a while, it's your brain, like, just like this is just gonna, like, this, you're not getting that same release of, like, you name it, oxytocin, serotonin, whatever your brain is releasing. It's always going to be like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like kind of like a movie. I mean, if a movie lasts 1 hour and a half, and it's relentless, it can get you engaged. You watch it, you gladly watch it. But if it's slow and lasts 6 hours, I mean, you get bored or you fall asleep.
Right.
And if a fragrance gives you excitement just for 3 or 4 hours,
Not
you
every
get
fragrance can.
more from that rather than buying a Middle Eastern wood that smells the same for 24 hours. You have to scrub it off.
And that's the kind of crap that gives me a headache. Not every fragrance can be Ben Hur.
Yeah.
Not every fragrance can be that epic. And it's like you're lying to yourself if you think it's still that epic if you detect whatever fixatives that are that powerful 12 to 20 hours later and you can't even wash them out of your clothes, like, to me, there's something kind of concerning about that. Like, if you can't even wash it, scrub it off of your skin, and you can't really wash it out of your clothes in one laundering, I don't really even trust the stuff that's in it. Like, it's too much, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
probably
not trying to be
yes.
like, alarmist about it, but it's just kind of like I get weirded out by that. I do.
And well, there is always some when I smell those kind of beast mode fragrances, like for example anything from Alessandro Gualtieri, can be Nasumato or can be Orto Paresi.
Yeah.
I also have a couple that are not bad, but there's always something kind of off. They have something that feels off. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like that. You kind of expect the fragrance to smell and to evolve in a certain way, and it goes in a different way, and you kind of think something is going wrong. It's not what it's supposed to be.
Definitely
Though,
often doesn't smell like what it's claiming to be at that point. And I have to scrub them. I do. Like, I don't like something that lingers that long and wears out its welcome and is that tenacious. I don't like it. There are very few fragrances that I own that are at that level, because I will say this, and this is another thing that I'll be talking about on my Substack. My Substack, jjcolborn.substack.com. Head over there, subscribe if you hadn't already. Is that I do get it's irritating, and it gives me a headache, and it also often sets off my asthma, because I don't know if many of you realize I actually have asthma. I am a perfume enthusiast, a fragrance enthusiast with asthma, and I managed to make it work. But you know what? It's the reason why I am furious with this whole trend of like smell maxing, and not really so much the smell maxing, but the overspraying thing, because I really just don't like the idea of being assaulted by that if you happen to have a condition, a respiratory condition. So, but it all plays into it. You know what I mean? Here I am as I'm sitting here with my next basil fragrance, but I just want to direct our attention to the chat very quickly here. Scott Burr says, "Golden rule: always buy and wear the things you love." Hell, there are days where I want to smell like WD-40, and I've given myself a spritz or two of it. Derek says, people just want to force themselves onto everyone as sort of an ego trip, like the whole alpha thing that's scientifically disproven, but folks still double down on "my musk fills your world." It's kind of like it's a very creepy behavior. It's a very, like, I mean, I know that some people have had some opinions on it that are like a little bit stretching, but I've already talked about that on Substack as well. Like the smell maxing, and it's tied to certain political ideologies and everything. I think that's sort of like rage farming BS. But what I really do believe is that there is this burgeoning culture of wanting to seem significant and validated and powerful and, strong, whatever you want to call it, alpha. And it is being sort of grafted upon people's fragrance enthusiasm. And it's a very different kind of way of using fragrance that I really hope that the youth of today start to evolve in the way they enjoy fragrance and care less and less about that.
But if musk feel my word, but God bless if ever. But usually it's marshmallow, ethyl maltol, and that kind of crap.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how
or Middle Eastern synthetic wood.
Oh, spare me, Jesus! All right, this is actually I'm sorry, folks. I'm sharing another discontinued fragrance. I don't think this is being made by Nita Parfumia Gantier, but it is Baime. Baime was released in 2000, and this is a very green, aromatic basil with lavender. And once again, we have that caraway, some thyme, vetiver, jasmine. So there's a floral quality to it as well. Beautiful stuff. This is another favorite basil of mine. And I'll spray it for discussion purposes. Oh, it's so beautiful. Like it smells like green leaves at the very beginning, and then shortly afterward, it starts to sort of materialize into the basil leaves. This is just totally at the very beginning. This is the basil leaves. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. And like you mentioned, Alex, like that sort of like anisic, licoricey kind of quality comes out too. And the cloviness, really beautiful. So that's the other basil that I really enjoy.
I recently got another Parfumé Gantier, but not the basil one, the vetiver one.
Is it Root de Vetiver?
Yeah.
That's a vetiver for like vetiver hard, like die hard vetiver. Like that's like digging in the dirt kind of.
It's surprising. I mean, it dries down. Well, it starts. You can smell the rootiness from the get-go, but gets more evident in the dry down. But those berries in the opening, there's kind of berry feeling in the opening is a nice contrast and something it's unusual with vetiver. Usually with vetiver in the opening, I don't know if they have like clove and basil or some components in common, but 90% is grapefruit.
There's such an overlap between grapefruit and vetiver.
They go well together.
They go so well together. They complement each other so well. Yeah. I mean, often a grapefruit kind of accord is used to elevate the vetiver, which is more of like a heart base note. Yeah, isn't that interesting? Yeah, and there's actually like vetiver, sort of, what do you call it? The constituents of vetiver that are isolated from vetiver are used to help make grapefruit accords too, which is kind of cool. Yeah.
So there is something like eugenol in clove and basil. Maybe there is some common compound in grapefruit and vetiver.
Yeah, and I think also like the grapefruits, there's some sort of sulfurous sort of compound in grapefruit that I think enhances vetiver in a way too, and makes it smell even more like raw and earthy. Yeah, it's interesting. It's like there is definitely this symbiosis, if you will, between
one is dark and damp, the other is slightly sweet and bright, and so that the contrast, I mean, you could put just them and make a fragrance that smells decent, at least. Not very complex, but easy.
Do you have a rosemary that you want to, a rosemary focused fragrance that you wanted to talk about? Or
yeah, it's I have talked about this. It's Helicris, which means immortal. Just I don't remember because I have the bottle in the other room. Sylvain Delacourt is the brand. Sylvain Delacourt. It's basically Helicris is immortal, and you have definitely the immortal, not the kind of sweet honeyed part, but more the hay dry facet. But the initial blast is rosemary. You know, when you open a small bottle of rosemary essential oil and you smell it, you got this kind of blast that opens your nostrils.
Yeah, the camphor. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the initial blast of that fragrance, which is well, not as potent as the essential oil, but can remind you of that essential oil. And I think it's beautiful. I love it, especially in. I think rosemary is great in summer rather than in spring, because it has that balsamic facet that might sound heavy, but it's very, very refreshing.
Mm-hmm. There's actually a really good rosemary that is in a more of a mainstream designer fragrance. Issey Miyake, Blue DC. This one is a really nice rosemary, actually. Surprisingly so. I didn't really expect that to be so. I'm going to spray some of it here. Is really I find that Issey Miyake for a designer brand has some really great fragrances. I don't know why they're not discussed as much as they probably could.
They have a milestone because l'Odyssey started the marine, the light marine wave 1 year before Acqua di Gio. And one of their last, I think it was 3 years ago, the release of A Drop d'Issey is one of the best lilacs. Not as refined as En Passant, maybe, but I think it's one of the best designers in recent years.
Yeah, in the past 10 years, probably, yeah. Javanol paired with grapefruit seems to enhance the citrus to an almost metallic degree. Yeah. I could imagine that, because Javanol does some pretty wacky stuff in composition, depending upon how you dose it. Yusef Asadinejad, great to have you here. Hey, family, I'm looking for Woot fragrances. If I get all the 3 bottles, I will make sure you get a decant of them for free. Woot. What is Woot? Pardon my ignorance. Woot. And Derek says most Issey Miyakes aren't on the market enough to get discussed. This is really lovely. Yeah. And this was released in 2004, so it was a while ago. Lot of like anise is in here, juniper as well. There's like a rosiness. There's lemongrass, like ginger. It's so complex, surprisingly complex for a male marketed mainstream fragrance. Really well done. Very nice. But it is that rosemary that stands out the most, for sure.
I remember another that had rosemary.
Oh, cool. Oh, yes, Basilica. I just shared my review on this just recently. Yeah. So good. And both you and Joshua recommended that to me. And what a good recommendation that was. What a beautiful fragrance.
I recommended it mostly because of the incense.
Right.
The main player is definitely incense, but it has that herbal aspect, kind of green. And I think that also the camphorous, balsamic, facet of rosemary helps enhance the incense.
Yeah, it's really nice, and it verges on this full-on savory gourmand quality, but it's that incense that just stops it from going there. It's just really like a unique fragrance. Who would have thought I'd be sitting here saying a unique fragrance, because so many fragrances are derivative in one way or another, and it is really outstanding. Beautiful
The
stuff.
only other fragrance I can imagine to match it with, not from a scent profile, but because they smell quite different, but as a concept, as an idea, is La Liturgie des Heures.
Yeah.
Because of the matching of the green and the incense.
So resinous.
But they are different.
A much
One
more
is
resinous, sappy kind of incense.
Coniferous, like incense, a church in the forest.
Right. Beautifully done. We were talking earlier about sage, not clary sage, which is wonderful too, but sages and white sage, as in the sage that we use in cuisine and we use in spiritual practice. Love the sage that is in this one. This is from Olivier d'Urbano. This is called Chrysolith. I'm going to be sharing a review of this actually this week. I'm going to be writing a review tomorrow on this. And I have run into so few fragrances that convincingly remind me of dry grasses in the summertime. There are a lot of fragrances that claim to capture that spirit. This is the only one that I think truly does. And it is still in production, rest assured, even though so many that I've talked about already are no longer in production. So this is Olivier d'Urbano Chrysolith. I'm going to put this one on my skin. Going to town tonight here. Such a beautiful fragrance. Ooh, beautiful stuff. Now, for people who want to know where you can purchase Olivier d'Urbano fragrances, I purchased 3 of them this year because I'm a nut. You all know that. I go overboard. So Scent Split is selling all of his releases domestically. But this is dominant. The most dominant note in this is the sage, and it also just has this really beautiful, sweetly dry, ambery quality to it as well, which is a great compliment for it as well. I think he uses Immortelle as well. There's something in it that kind of gives me the impression of Immortelle, but I could be entirely wrong. I don't memorize notes pyramids, and I just go by my nose half the time. But this could actually be maybe just some other, ginger, actually. It's very gingery as well. And it just smells like dry grasses. It reminds me of visiting this place up here in Massachusetts, Plum Island, where it's dunes. There's something called salt pans, which is a habitat for all different animals like shorebirds. And it reminds me of that. Like phragmites, so reeds. Like reeds, when they warm up in the sun, have a certain smell, like cattails too. It's crazy stuff, but the sage is really the standout to me. It does smell like dried sage. So yeah, that's another option.
When I think of sage, I usually think of tobacco fragrances, because sage is used to create the tobacco accord that
right
But a couple maybe that I remember stand out because they are not tobacco fragrances. One is a patchouli, basically, because Diptyque Tempo is has a very distinct to me sage note.
Yeah, totally.
And the other one, which is more of a green aromatic, is l'artisan Caligna.
Yeah, there's like a clary sage in it and a white sage feel to it. It's very sagey all around, all salvia, all the way through it. Salvia, that's the
Yeah,
Isn't
yeah,
that also, is that the Italian word for sage as
yeah,
well as Latin?
salvia.
Yeah, it's the Latin word too. That's the
Yeah.
whole speech, the whole family of plants. Salvia, like Salvia sclarea.
And
Yeah.
of course, I have to mention the basically Solenote Salvia by Olfactive Pharmacy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they make just 4 fragrances, and you would like the kind of apothecary bottle, but they are fantastic. The linden is awesome. The sage is very realistic. The birch is fantastic.
I'd be interested in the linden. That's one of my favorite
Oh,
floral
I have.
accords.
It's one of my recent focuses. Linden blossom. I have bought many. Starting from Feuille, which, yes, has linden, but to me has a lot of greenery.
There's a lot. That's like a linden tree that is like in this wild nature reserve with all other kinds of plants. And yeah, that's a very cool one. Why don't we do like a brief intermission? This will be the halfway point, and we'll be back in just a minute or so. It's a very brief intermission. If you haven't already liked the stream, please do so. We currently have 25 people tuned in, and we have 23 likes. Let's try to bring that up to 30 if we can. So I imagine there's maybe 6 or 7 people who haven't hit the like yet. So go ahead and do it. It's the easiest thing that you can do, and it would be greatly appreciated. We'll be back in just a minute. We're going to do a brief intermission, so we'll see you in a bit. And we're back, and I want to thank the 26 people who are currently tuned into the live transmission of this final episode of Effluvium. It is true, this is the final one on YouTube after 3 seasons, and I really appreciate all of the support over the past few years. All right, we're going to pick up this conversation again. I'm going to bring back in Alex. And here we go. Onward we go.
What about cumin?
Cumin, we can talk about cumin. I didn't set aside cumin because I was so botanically anal retentive about it. Like, cumin's technically a spice because it comes from a fruit, But
it's more the seed. Yeah, right.
More of a seed. But hey, there's no rules here. I invite you to talk about a cumin fragrance or two for sure, because they are aromatic as well. There's a lot of overlap. So please, by all means.
We can just let's keep it simple and And short, because we are digressing, actually, it's true. Let's just mention other mess, because we can't speak about cumin and not speak about the quintessential cumin. And a more recent release, Amouage Fate, which is kind of I think of it as the amped up version of its other mess on steroids, basically. I think they are very wearable. I don't think that cumin stinks like body odor, not at all. Maybe on some skin chemistry can give that reaction, not on mine. I can totally wear it. I think they are, especially odor mass, very elegant, very subdued. It's kind of a skin scent. You can barely notice it.
I think it's very sensuous.
Yeah. While Fate is clearly being an old style Amouage. I know you're not a big fan of the brand, but it's,
it's
kind
just
of
like
kind of louder. Kind of louder.
I know. Some people have given me a hard time for that. It's just I had to be fastidious somewhere. Like I just was. There was a point where I was like, I'm going to choose between really diving into a certain house, and I can't dive into like every single lauded house. You know,
Wow,
I
but
just like there are certain ones that I just was like, you know what, I'm not even going to go down that road.
I think we already talked about this years ago, because I love the old Amouage. You can have an example here. Epic, very green.
Let's zoom in while you show that.
This is Epic. This is a kind of a bomb, and it's one of the best rendition of Castoreum in recent years. But it's very, very green, very foresty. It's kind of coniferous, and I brought it up in case we speak about myrtle. But yeah, and for example, Interlude had no very noteworthy oregano opening, which is very rare in fragrances, while it's widely used in the kitchen. And and I remember we were speaking about it because Mouages actually have everything that you might like, and yet you don't like them.
It's not that I don't. It's not that I don't like the house. It's just I have to draw the line when I'm already a very compulsive person. It's like I made it a point, you know what? I'm not going to open Pandora's box, get into a whole other house after I've it's hard to decide, and sometimes it's easy for me to decide, and for whatever reason I was like, you know what, I'm not doing it. I appreciate them, I have samples of them, but I'm not going to get full bottles. I was being good, I was being responsible.
Yeah, no, I only get full bottles when they are testers, or I can get them second-hand from friends or reputable sellers, or sometimes you can find them discounted online, but it's very rare.
Yeah.
I recently, 1 year ago, I found a perfumery that they were offloading the brand, so they sold bottles with 30%, 50% discounts. Why not?
That's the way to do it. That's the way I've gotten a lot of
I
things.
mean, I'm not spending 350 euros for a bottle of fragrance. No, nope.
Ricardo asks, what about costus? I love costus. Well, yeah, costus comes from a root. I don't know if we would consider it an herb. I have a costus video. I love costus. But I think if we were sticking to the theme of herbaceous and herbal scents, costus doesn't really give off it goes well with herbal. It goes well with herbaceous. It goes well with pretty much anything. It does some magical things with all different kinds of notes. But we love costus. I just don't have costus notes to talk about. I don't have costus fragrances at my side because I didn't really consider it to be.
Well, actually, considering from how much and how many parts of the plant you extract the oil, so we can consider labdanum an herb, and then we can open the gates of hell.
Right. It's like, if we're thinking taxonomy, like, is this, it's a plant. One could argue it's an herb, but
JJ, but if we too start talking about labdanum fragrance, the stream will be a 24-hour stream.
It would be, yeah. And then people would say, ask, are we talking about resinous fragrances? Like resinous
ambers. We can put everything in.
Right. So I think when we talk about a certain category, we want to think about whether it evokes that category as well. So with an herb, maybe you didn't know about the category, Ricardo, too. So I want to give you credit for that if you didn't know. But with an herb, but sometimes people will consider, lavender. Lavender is a flower, but do we really consider lavender to be floral? We tended to consider it a more aromatic. So when we think florals in our head, like, oh, one of my favorite florals is lavender, it's kind of, yeah, technically, I guess, because you can get the oil from the flower, even though we get the oil from the flower and the leaves. But I don't necessarily consider it to be like the first thing that comes to mind. So it's kind of like that, like
geranium.
Geranium
is a floral. No, because you extract the flower is mute. You extract the oil from the leaves.
Right. It can feel floral, but it comes from the leaves. So what do we call that? We kind of consider it kind of like, aromatic adjacent to floral, but not floral. Like that's why sometimes when somebody says like geranium is my favorite floral note, and it's like, well, I guess, but it smells kind of floral because it smells kind of rosy, but it's not really like it doesn't read as floral to me. When I hear floral,
can also smell minty.
It can also smell a little minty, and it can smell a little green, and it can smell a little spicy, and it can smell a little, if we were to do a floral theme, I would think of things like rose, even though rose is kind of like almost its own monolithic category too. Well, not monolithic, its own huge category. Jasmine, floral jasmine, yes. Tuberose, yes. Ylang-ylang, yes. Carnation. But then you could also say it's a spicy floral. That's the thing about categories, is there's so much nuance, But with herbaceous and herbal, it's pretty straightforward. It's like you think of things that are, herbaceous and herbal. One that could transcend that, though, but is very firmly in herbal, is mint. So, what do you think of mint, Alex? Tell the folks who are tuned in. What do you think of mint in fragrance?
I love mint. I totally love mint. It's very refreshing. Of course, it's refresh. It's a fresh herb. You use it fresh. You don't. While many other herbs, as oregano, for example, you can use it the dry leaves. But mint is fresh, is always associated with summer cocktails, with ice creams, popsicles, you add it to lemonade and to, I don't know, freshly cut tomatoes. You can use basil, oregano, or mint also.
Or you could do like a melange of all of
Yeah,
them.
or
Yeah.
you can cut fresh mint leaves and use them in the marinade for tartares, tuna tartare, or even meat tartares.
Mm.
So it's clearly associated with something fresh, with something summery. And apart from haze, which, as we were talking earlier, to me as a minty vibe,
Mm-hmm.
I only have mint-based fragrances that I use in summer. One example, Guerlain Homme Le Boisé,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
which is kind of this herbal, minty mojito vibe.
Right. Because there's some lime as well. So you have that lime and the mint interacting
Or
with each other. And
Lacoste Booster,
mm-hmm.
which is the more, I think that's a real spearmint because it has that kind of, I mean, the beginning, it got a slightly toothpastey vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Then it mixes with eucalyptus and everything, but that's typically spearmint. Then
Yeah. And spearmint and fresh mint or peppermint different. They're different. The flavor's different. The aroma is different.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, spearmint is sweeter,
It is.
while peppermint is not sweet at all.
It's
It's
spicier. Yeah.
spicier,
Yeah.
almost. I wouldn't say hot spicy, but it has a kind of piquant feel.
Yeah, I guess not really spicy in the usual sense. Like, I mean, well, there's the name peppermint. It's a little bit more of a pepperiness to it. Yeah. Right.
Mhm. Yeah, the kind of biting spicy without being hot like chili.
Right.
Another
Yeah.
good one is Rogen Gallet L'Homme Ment,
Mm-hmm.
which is a kind of a citrus aromatic slash fougere with a prominent mint note.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
There's this
Astier de
one here.
Villat, I guess.
Yeah, this is the Manta Jolie. I picked this up recently. Manta Jolie, which is my new favorite minty fragrance, but it's not just minty. It's very, it is very herbaceous, green and herbaceous, and just very beautiful. Like, I pick up something that reminds me of tomato leaf, but there's also something that reminds me of blackberries and other herbs. One point that reminds me of like fresh chervil, which chervil is a type of herb. Here we go. Somewhat similar to parsley, but even more aromatic to my nose. But there's a floral element in it as well. That there was a point in it that reminded me of water lilies. And when I used to go canoeing, and we would canoe through places that there would be water lilies growing, I would actually reach over to smell them, and they do have a discernible scent. And that's what I'm reminded of here. There's like a weedy, wildflowery kind of sensation that reminds me of Marc-Antoine Corticchiato's Madame Parfum d'Empire. And this beautiful, sweet, lush, watery feel to the greenness of it, and it has a tenacity too. I say this in my review for this. It belies its seemingly delicate nature. That it actually has. It's not fleeting at all. It does have like a really proper development to it. It's just really beautiful stuff. But The mint is the most outstanding thing, and it's especially in its opening, and it's like not at all like the distilled oil kind of mint that might remind people of like toothpaste or mouthwash. It's like the fresh leaves, like the just you're picking them right off of the plant, and you might crush them and express some of the oil right into your hand. It's that wonderful stuff. But I will be officially sharing that review on social media tomorrow. So that's one mint that I've been crazy for, and I also like Cartier Roadster is a really nice mint. Mathilde Laurent is such a great perfumer. Once again, sorry, it's discontinued, but it isn't going through for a ton of money. I mean, it's definitely going for more than.
No, you can still find it. You can still find it.
You can still find it. Yeah.
Here, many perfume. I see it in many perfumeries. They still have stock. So.
They still have stock. Yeah, very well done.
Because it's never been very popular. I mean, there are other Cartiers that sold much more. And if you want basically a study in mint, a fragrance that is not complex at all, but it's straightforward minty, it's Miller and Berthaud.
Menta. Yeah, that's a great house, and it's so underrated, never talked about. Yeah. So good, though.
Yeah. This is basically straightforward mint. Many types of mint.
Lunar Angst, I just want to answer. Yeah, I do really enjoy Herba Fresca. That's very nice. One of the classics from the Aqua Allegoria line. Back to Alex here.
Yeah, this basically is, as I said, a study in mint. In perfumery, you have different type of mint. I mean, I can immediately detect the slight sweetness of spearmint, peppermint, and some other type of mints that I actually don't know the names, but I can smell they are different. It's beautiful. If you are in the mood for smelling really like mint in summer, go for this.
Yeah. And Jonky mentions Healy Montfresh as her favorite minty fragrance. Lovely. Levi Sheener, hello. Chocolate mint in a fragrance. Yeah, that is a kind of mint. There is amazing. There's bergamot mint. There's a lot of very cool mints. And an interesting thing, a lot of these herbs that we're talking about, they're actually in the mint family. The mint family is huge. So even if it's not a mint plant, it's in that family. Like basil's in the mint family, lavender's in the mint family, patchouli's in the mint family. Yeah, they're all in the mint family. It's kind of like rose. Like many fruits are actually in the rose family, which is amazing. Like strawberry and blackberry and pear and peach and apple and all of them. They're in like the large rose family of plants. Herba Fresca is great. Yes. Square stalks and opposite leaves. Yeah, right on. There you go. You know your botany there. And JD, how about galbanum? Great note. Not herbal, though. Not herbal. And to me, that's green. So we're talking about green. Like, even though there's a overlap between green and herbal, a lot of overlap, obviously, especially things with like basil and mint, very green smelling. Galbanum is like, the way I've read it described, and I'm inclined to agree with it, it's like yellow green. It is like a very stemmy, like the parts of the plant that you would not usually associate with scent, but they have a scent. And that makes sense because galbanum is actually a resin. It's different from like the other types of oil that we're talking about in these herbaceous plants. It's a resin that is exuded from the galbanum plant. But that being said, it's not bad to mention galbanum because, Alex, I think you would agree, it goes very well with herbal notes. goes very well with them. It can
Yeah.
enhance
Well,
them.
it's galbanum is a staple in green fragrances. I mean, there is hardly a green fragrance that doesn't feature the note of galbanum. But I wanted just for a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes, to praise a genre that herbal, since you mentioned Meleme, fragrances that are made with herbals that are not so common, so used, like wild weeds.
Yes. Yeah.
Like Meleme, like
Right.
Feuille,
Yeah.
like L'eau de Marsan.
Thank you
Some,
for turning me on to that one. That was a great recommendation from you.
yeah, knowing you loved yerba mate, it was an easy recommendation.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
they have something in common, not the same, but they have something similar in the same profile. But those smell like really a wild meadow where you don't have basil, or you might have wild basil, but usually you have basil in your herb garden. You don't have parsley. You have, for example, stinging nettle. Who uses that in fragrances? Or a myriad of other herbs that I don't even know the names, wildflowers. And that smell of a meadow in spring or summer is beautiful, but it's very rarely recreated.
Yeah, it's not often seen as a theme. Thinking of things like the way that these wildflowers and weeds smell, especially on a warm day when the sun heats up the plants themselves. Daisies and fleabane and thistles and campion and all these little wildflowers that grow in meadows. They have their own aroma as well.
Dandelions,
Dandelions, yeah.
dandelions,
I've wanted to try Perfumer H dandelion. Lynn Harris's Perfumer H. She did a fragrance dandelion. And as a matter of fact, I have down in the kitchen, I have from Myers, Mrs. Myers, I have a dandelion hand soap, and I was pretty impressed with how much it smells like dandelions, like the flower, the leaves and all. It's pretty crazy.
Actually, the leaves are edible, and
They are, yeah.
They are used. They are also homemade medical use. Let's call it natural medicine use.
Yeah. There's also a fragrance from this house, and actually Dominique Oppion composed it, and it's called Wild Garlic.
Oh.
And
I would love a fragrance with garlic. I love garlic.
And
but actually, it's not herbal.
Right, it's not herbal, and I think it's actually like the leaves that are the leaves of the wild garlic that it is meant to represent. There's also like shiso leaf, petitgrain, tomato leaf. It sounds amazing. It's actually by Aramag. It was released a couple of years ago, and it was composed by Dominique Ropion. I'm not sure if it's. I think people might be scared away with the word garlic in a fragrance, but I'm fairly certain he didn't have like the garlic cloves in mind. But that being said, I mean, I have heard that the most minuscule amounts of garlic oil and onion oil, like I'm talking about like homeopathic doses of onion oil and garlic oil, have been used in bases. And I believe it. because if you imagine if the tiniest amount is used, it would just add that little shade or tint that would come from the potency of those to create something like very green and sharp, you know.
I would love if they have used a bit more.
A bit more. You're daring. Maybe.
I like garlic. I mean, I like onions.
I mentioned
they're very good for your health. I mean, garlic is the most powerful natural antibiotic.
unfortunately, when I eat garlic, I end up smelling of not necessarily garlic as in like a good smell, but it just like I don't know if this is from getting older, but I can't eat like anything with heavy garlic. It's potent.
Yeah, it's very powerful. And,
yeah, I can probably get away with like maybe whole cloves because they're not cut. But I have to be very careful with garlic. Onion, I can still get away with. Speaking of onion, too, being that it's in the allium family, and we know of the flower allium coming from, that same family. They're all alliums. There's some alliums that have a very nice herbaceous floral scents to them.
And they are also beautiful, these big balls.
The globe. Yeah, they're in bloom right now where we are. Yeah.
They're beautiful.
And then we have Levi mentioning Artemisia mugwort. As a matter of fact, earlier in the stream, Levi, we were talking about the Artemisia family, which includes the mugwort. Mugwort grows at this wildlife sanctuary near me, and it is just heavenly. It is just waves. It is just like a swath of mugwort, and it smells so good right now. But yeah, mugwort and other plants in the Artemisia family, like wormwood and davana. Yeah. Scott Bear says, would Eau Noir be considered more herbal or more root-like and earthy? Are you familiar with Eau Noir?
Yeah, I mean,
what do you think?
I don't have it, but I have Amouage Sunshine, which is basically the same. Yeah, I like Eau Noir. I like the licorice and the immortel together. It's very good, very powerful, and to me it's not herbal, but reminds me of a sunny day, really.
There is an example of where herbs and florals and green coalesce. Once again, discontinued, I think. Weekend in Normandy by Patricia de Nicolai has been discontinued. I think I'm right in
Never
that.
saw that.
Yeah. But this has mint and basil and galbanum in the top with citrus, but the heart is very much floral with lily of the valley and jasmine. So it's just this confluence of the green and the herbal and the floral and the mossy. Unfortunately discontinued. All of my favorites from Patricia de Nicolai have been discontinued.
Yeah, and the floral note is what has screwed Queer Cuba for me. Because it's not a fragrance problem, it's my problem with Magnolia.
Oh, really?
I can't smell anything else that Magnolia is, to my nose, is so piercing.
Really?
Even a small amount, because I gave the bottle to my girlfriend and she said to me, it's licorice, it's not leather, because queer is quite deceiving as a name. But she can smell the licorice, she can smell a bit of the florals, she can smell the leafy tobacco note. I could smell the floral. That's it. It's like the rose. Rose for me is extremely overpowering, but that's my skin chemistry. I mean, if I spray a bit rouge on this wrist and egoist on this other. After 20 minutes, I don't know which is which.
Really?
Because,
That's fascinating.
yeah, rose overpowers everything, but
Wow.
it doesn't disturb me. While magnolia, it's that kind of white piercing floral, like we have discussed when talking about Rive Gauche Parfum.
Yes.
Those
Yes.
white flower, this is even worse because it's pushed by aldehydes and devastating for my nose. I mean, it's like a sword right through my nostrils. But yeah, that white floral, I struggle with some of them if overdone. I mean, overdone jasmine is disturbing. Overdone neroli is disturbing.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. But if they are done, in a balanced way, I have no problem.
Like if it's more sort of like a side note to support.
No, it
Like
can be the
it can be the center too. Okay.
centerpiece, but it has to be balanced by something else and not be done in an extremely piercing way. I have jasmine scents. I have a lot of neroli scents, but they are, for example, the only unbalanced neroli that I have is Acqua di Parma Colonia Essenza.
Oh,
The
okay.
black one, the one that Dan loves so much. I use it, but sparingly, usually in winter. Because that neroli note is very piercing to my nose.
Mm-hmm.
Very dry.
Well, I wanted to mention, go back to myrtle because you mentioned myrtle earlier, and I have a fragrance that does feature myrtle. Before we do that, I just want to go back to the comments here. Yusuf says, "Culo te versatile Paris has a garlic note. Interesting. Not familiar with it. Levi, a tiny amount of onion or garlic oil. Very interesting. I imagine it might perceive as earthy too, or even mineralic, like sulfury notes, which I think could be great. Very interesting, right? Supply and demand. Hi, JJ and Alex. Congrats and thanks for the years of content. Thank you, Supply and Demand. Thank you for being here for the final episode live broadcast. And myrtle. There is one fragrance here that I detect a myrtle note, and this is Teralba from Mask Milano.
Yeah.
And another Italian brand. There we go. Delphine Thierry contributed to this. Contributed the composition to this one. This has like a lot of clary sage in it as well. So what I pick up most is the clary sage, the myrtle, and thyme, and a little bit of immortelle. Actually, I take that back. Like everything else, beyond everything else, it's the mastic. But the myrtle, I would say, is like right underneath it. This is the last one that I'm going to spray. This is the final fragrance that I'm going to spray on Effluvium, the series. The final one.
Oh, a good one.
I don't have anything here. Last one.
To me,
this is exhilarating. What an exhilarating fragrance! Wow. This smells like I can be excited for summertime.
Yeah, that's to me is
like this is it's so much like sunshine, blue skies. Just very clear, lucid. And there's the myrtle. I pick up the myrtle in this. Alex, how would you describe the scent of myrtle as a flower and an herb?
It's difficult because it's green, but
I can't hear you. What's going on?
You can't hear me?
Oh no, we can't lose you now.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
Let-
Now it's
Now,
okay.
no,
No, we still can't hear you.
I don't know. I don't know actually. Everything is
Uh-oh.
everything is working from.
Uh-oh, we still can't hear you.
Let me
Do
check.
you want to sign off and back on? See if that works out? Do you
Yeah.
want to do that? Okay. All right. We'll stand by here. Hopefully you can sort out the audio issue there. We'll see you in a bit. Wait. Oh, interesting. So people in the stream could hear him, but I couldn't hear him? Oh, that's so crazy. Whoa. And can everybody hear me fine? That's kind of crazy. If people in the chat can just clarify that, because Levi, you said that you could hear Alex on the stream. That's really weird. Well, while we wait for him to return, we have Jean Quissent. I have wondered since the 90s why there is a slight garlic-like smell in Ivoire de Balmain, but when I learned about asafoetida in perfumes a few years ago, I understood. Yeah, asafoetida, really interesting how that was used in perfumery. Hing, as it's also called, or devil's dung. That's so strange. And you could hear him too. I'm assuming everybody else could hear him, but I couldn't hear him anymore. That's really odd. Maybe I will hear him now. We're going to bring him back in. Okay.
Hey, can you hear me?
Whoa. No, that's not. I can't hear you, but the audience can hear you. That's going to pose a problem. How are we going to be able to? I don't know what's going on there. Maybe it has to do with StreamYard.
Or maybe.
Yeah, everybody can hear you, but I cannot. So I don't think it's. Maybe I should. I don't know. Yep, they can all hear you. This is really weird. Maybe if I take you out and put you back in. Let's try that. I'm going to remove you and see if it resets things. Okay. All right. I'm going to look in the settings as well as we figure this out, because it would be a shame if we didn't close this with my being able to actually hear him. All right. Yeah, everybody could hear him but me, which would make things difficult for continuing a conversation. Hi there, man. Amanda Jolie has been on my sample list for so long. Need to try it. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a really good one. All right, let's see if this works. I removed him and I'm going to add him back. Say something there. No, phooey. What?
Still don't hear me.
I don't get it. I don't understand why I can't hear you. That's really strange. Like then I don't want to mess up my sound, because then people won't be able to hear me. Alex, I'm so sorry. I don't know what to do with this. Yeah, this is disappointing. How do we I don't know how we can resolve this. It's sort of a really sad way to end the series. Like, I can't, not being able to hear you. But I can't.
Know.
Yeah, I can't figure out. I mean, maybe. All right, maybe I'll try something, but I really risk doing this because I don't want to end up losing my sound completely. So, folks, just hang tight. You won't hear me for a second. I'm going to disconnect my mic. So here goes nothing here. All right.
Can you still?
Give me 1 second. All right. Try to say something. Well, you don't have to try. Let's see
Hey,
if I can hear you. Nope.
hey, I'm here. No.
This is so sad. This is not how I wanted the series to end. So, no. Oh, man. An accidental button or setting. Yeah, that's possible. Because this is really specific to me. If you folks who are watching can hear him, then obviously this has something to do with me. I'll leave the studio and return. Hold on. No, can't do that because I think I'll end the stream. I'm trying here, people. I'm trying. Yeah, I don't know what to do here. The headphones. Let's see. All right. So I don't have my headphones in, which means that I could have some difficulty here. Can you hear me? Alex, can you hear me?
All yes.
Right. But I still can't hear you. So even when I'm not listening through my headphones, through my mic, I still can't hear you. There's so many final things in this final episode. The last live stream with technical issues out of many episodes with technical issues over the past few years. Yeah, the headphones didn't change anything. I can go on from the chat. Why don't we do that? Why don't we do it that way? Because we're only going to be on for about another half hour. And I figured the last half hour I was just going to talk directly to the audience. So Alex, much love to you, my friend. Thank you so much for being a friend over the years. And I hope to be friends with you for many years to come.
Sure.
Let's have you chat in the chat. Let's have you move over to the chat, and everybody say goodbye to Alex, or say goodbye to seeing him, and he'll be in the chat. Thank you so much, Alex, for joining me for this final episode.
Thank you.
Much love to you. Take care. Bye. Well, all right. So Alex is going to be in the chat here. We have 21 people tuned in, and we're going into our final half hour of this entire series. And this is going to be my opportunity to talk to all of you directly, because some of you have questions as to, why am I doing this? Why am I ending it when there's a following? And it's not that I don't appreciate all of you and I don't value all of you. There are many of you who have been watching from the very beginning. Some of you have fallen off and then back on. Some of you watch occasionally. But no matter what, it means a great deal to me that you took somewhat seriously all of the things that I've been doing for the past 3 years or so on this YouTube channel, which, I don't really know what my intention was going to be for this YouTube channel. Like, it never really grew to the level that maybe I hoped it would. But then again, there are things in my life that may have been an impediment to that. That I could not change, First of all, I never really intended to be a content creator that would rely on it monetarily. So in order to do that, you do have to do a lot more content. And I just did not have the time to do that much content. And part of growing a YouTube channel is that you have to be on top of it very frequently and do a lot in order to gain an audience and keep an audience. So and I've mentioned this a number of times over the past few years that has been a limitation for me. I think I was really ambitious early on, even though I didn't really find my footing. I was like, I'm going to do these crazy videos. I'm going to do a lot of editing, and I'm going to, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to make this like a pretty significant YouTube channel. And I learned pretty quickly that really wasn't realistic for me. And I think that it's great that Effluvium has carried this channel along, and has really been the core of it. But I do think that I want to just go back to just making regular edited videos, recorded videos, and do them as often as time permits, and there's some other things as well. I have a full-time job that's very demanding, and I think that many of you out there who have a job that demands your time and energy and has its challenges. It can be tough for you to balance your work life with your home life and with your hobbies and stuff. And I already feel like I'm doing a lot of great things right now, with my content and with the platforms that I already have. And it's just hard to keep this going. I feel like I've invited everybody I could invite, but I'm not really getting the momentum of the channel. So what am I going to do if I want to continue doing this and do it in a way that I really would get the kind of audience that I want? And I thought that, through doing Substack, which also means that I can do, more long form content, written content, because I'm a writer. I really am. I like to write. I'm not saying like I'm a writer. I have my degree in writing and I'm like a serious writer, but I like writing. I like to write about my thoughts, and I like to write about my thoughts in more than like a soundbite or a paragraph. So that's why I have a tough time with other formats. But Substack was really calling my name, and it looked like that was going to be the place where I felt most at home. So I think I want to do a podcast and have it broadcast there. And yeah, and also, I have to be honest I'm going to be more personal with this. I have a partner of 14 years who has stage 4 lung cancer. So that adds another element to all of this. So I need to be there for him. And anybody who's aware of somebody who has stage 4 lung cancer, that's metastasized cancer. That's not a cancer where like, oh, someday it may go into remission. It's stage 4. So with stage 4, you could live for 20 more years or 18 more months. You don't know. You have to get scanned periodically and see if that cancer is still being kept at bay and it's not metastasizing. And that's just the reality, and that can take its toll on me, mentally and emotionally, and dealing with the things that go along with it, like your own finitude, anticipatory, and, grief. And so it's hard. It's hard to balance all this stuff. So I need to pare things back, reassess, and figure out what's most important to me right now. That doesn't mean like I'm disappearing and I'm not going to be doing. It's just I have to reconfigure things a little bit. And I hope that those of you who wish that I wouldn't stop doing this and wish that I did more content, I hope that you better understand where I'm coming from, because that can be really tough with some of the realities that I face. For those of you who are concerned or worried, my partner is fine. His cancer is not metastasizing right now. He's continuing to take a targeted drug. We did have a scare last year where he was doing rounds of chemo and a lot of radiation. We were concerned that he would have to do whole brain chemo, which would have really shaken the foundations of my life and his, but he was able to avoid that. We were able to kick that can down the road. So that's just where I am. So yeah, I'm sorry that I can't do as much of this online stuff. I think honestly, like, in the days that I was doing the online stuff, like jumping onto other people's live streams back in 2022, early 2023, it was sort of a distraction from what I was dealing with personally. Like, here's a distraction. So here's the thing about us as humans. It is our nature to want to be distracted from things that are difficult. So we find ways of distracting ourselves. And some of those things, some of those distractions are healthy distractions. Some of them not so healthy. Some of them turn into addictions. Some of them turn into preoccupations, which can be maladaptive. So yeah, I mean, interestingly enough, like I dove deep into doing content in 2020 when it was all, the COVID, with COVID, the pandemic, and it was just my way of coping with that. And then my partner was diagnosed in 2021, and then, this is going to continue to be a way of coping with that. So that, each one of us has a different story and a different reason for why we turn to the things that we turn to in those times. And I just wanted to be frank. I mean, a lot of this had to do with that. I look back at it, and in my times of frustration and anger, I look at the ways that I may have been sort of like a polemicist of sorts and have ruffled feathers, upset people, because I'm a brutally honest person, you know? And when I see that something isn't right, when I see that somebody isn't treating other people fairly and they're not being honest and they're not doing things in good faith, I can't help but to be vocal about it. And that was perceived as my, at best, being a provocateur, and at worst, being an asshole. And you know, I developed a reputation as a result of it, and I live with that, you know. But I don't really, you know, lose sleep at night over the people who decided that they did not want to interact with me because I had opinions about somebody that they know online, you know. So it was a little upsetting to lose some of that audience, but honestly, over time, I thought about the fact that, like, well, was that really an audience that I'd want to keep if they were to make those kinds of snap judgments based on somebody that they don't know personally and they just know them online, speaking ill will about me or other people. And I find that to be really disgusting, that people have that low vibration and that lack of emotional intelligence to sabotage somebody else and make somebody else look bad because they might have said something that they disagreed with or they weren't happy with, or they felt like they were, you know, they were wronged or they were insulted. And, you know, God knows people have done that to me being an online personality, but I would never go that far as to warn people of how horrible they are or try to like ruin their platform or, you know, make them, you know, jeopardize their following or anything like that, or just say, you know, things that are patently false. So, and that's why, like, you know, the first couple of seasons I feel like I had a much better audience, and you know, and people will believe what they want to believe. So I just think that, you know, while I was on a good note with this season, you know, I had a decent following with you guys, and you still kept coming back, and I had new people coming in, that to just kind of, you know, quit it while the going is still good and not let this sort of like run beyond its vitality and draw it out. So I figured 3 seasons was good. And like I said, I'm not going anywhere. I'll be on Substack. I'll still be doing videos here every now and then. And I don't think I'm some big shot. I don't think I'm anything important. I don't like being a gatekeeper. I don't like telling people how they should enjoy fragrance and what fragrance is more valid than another type of fragrance. You know, I just had enough of that shit. I think it's really pretentious. I think that it is very cliquey. So I have a lot of opinions about it still. You know, there are a lot of things that I said a while ago that I still hold true on it. And if you don't like that, just, I don't fucking care. You know, like, it's just, it is what it is. But what I think was reassuring is that a lot of other people agreed. You know, they may have not have been as vocal as I was in speaking out about the strange kind of mentalities and just the weird kind of cult of personality kind of stuff that started to really grow. Maybe that had something to do with the pandemic. That people started to notice that as well. I mean, you know, you're tearing apart other peers in your community just because they get free bottles, tearing apart, you know, somebody just because they gave you a bad review. Like, what kind of negative, like, dark energy is that, you know? And if for any of you who support that kind of stuff, that's not my business if you do or not. Like I said, I'm not going to tell you who to or not support. If you enjoy their content and you enjoy mine, I think that shows a lot of character on your part. I really do, you know. But I figured this last episode would be me just like bearing my heart on this. Like, I was really disillusioned with the whole YouTube realm, YouTubers in general. So I guess I'll take a look at the chat here. We we didn't really talk about Tarragon, but that would have been a good one to talk about. A really great Tarragon. The name actually escapes me right now, but I'll try to remember to send you the name of it. Avert your eyes. Clue is coming out with dandelion butter. Oh, fascinating. I gave up streams on Instagram, never attempted them here on my own YouTube, on my own outside joining yours. And Mishi, thank you very much. Sticks 10.2 Schlonghammer. The dude. And Derek says trolling and bullying is sadism, and sadism is a form of catharsis for self-loathing or feelings of nihilism, hopelessness, and depression. Not a good form of catharsis, but one as old as time. And yeah, that pretty much says it, you know. I think that when people have a lot of anger and fear and sadness, it gets projected that way, and they want to take that out. They want to feel like they have some control, you know. And yeah, I retaliated. I did retaliate. I retaliated online, and you know that says something about me. You know, like if you spot it, you got it, right? I mean, there's a phrase: if you spot it, you got it. And I hold a lot of anger and sadness and fear as well, because I have a partner who lives with stage 4 lung cancer. I'm only human. And it felt good. I mean, at the time, and you know, spiritually, I guess I only have myself to answer as to whether or not it was really good for me in the long run. But yeah, it's funny how like something so stupid as this, though, because like these are people I've never met in person. I don't really owe them anything, just like they don't really owe me anything. But it still kind of stings when something like that happens. Greenbrier from Caswell, Massey. Oh, I've never tried Greenbrier. Oh no, you must have been watching, yeah, earlier on. Yeah, I just could not figure out a way to listen. I think what you're doing right now is you're gonna find out later. You're actually you're watching like the playback while I'm still live, and you're writing the comments now. That I've been known to do that watching other people's live streams where I've rewinded. Levi, thank you, JJ. It's been quite a joy to see your channel, and more so while you were streaming. I will look for you on Substack. Thanks again. And you don't have to leave here. It's just going to be recorded videos. It's going to be kind of like old-fashioned YouTube, and I'll do them every now and then. So yeah, 25 people tuned in. This is the end of Effluvium, and yeah, that's just where I am. I will see you all on Substack, and I plan to do a lot of stuff over there over time once I really get my footing over there. I tried stacking subs once, but I hate them all. You've used that one already, but it's a good one. All right, so I'm going to be signing off at about 9:30. So I'll stick around with you guys, and we can, you know, just think about like how this was fun for some of you because you kept coming back. Let's see. We have 21 likes. Why don't we try to get as many likes as we can before we end at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time? I'll try to get at least to like 35 likes. So if you haven't liked the stream, please do so. That's going to be one of the last times I say that, probably, for these live streams. Pat says, I definitely will be missing these live streams. You taught me a lot about fragrances and the materials used to make these beautiful creations. Thanks, JJ. Thank you very much, Pat. I think you've been watching from pretty much the very beginning, and you've stuck with me for all 3 seasons. The best dad jokes are recurring ones. Justin says, thank you, JJ. I was a latecomer and just started watching the season. Really enjoyed the show. I'm glad I caught some of them live. Yeah, and there's the whole backlog. There's, you know, all of them are recorded. And I've had some pretty incredible guests. You know, who could ask for anything more? Like the fact that some of these people were even willing to accept my invitation to join this. It's an honor, and I'm humbled by that. Thank you, Mishi. I want to see you on Substack too. And Levi says, Greenbrier is fantastic, herbal and so fresh, smooth and deep. Thyme, Artemisia, sage in production. It sounds good. So this channel will still be in operation. I would love to hear suggestions for videos that you would like to see in the future. If I have the energy and the gumption, I try to do like 1 or 2 a month, maybe. So it'd be cool to hear some ideas from you, and I'll let you know if I've already done it and then direct you to that video. But it'd be cool to hear some of your suggestions for that. We have 24 people tuned in, and I have always been curious, who are the people who watch who never speak up in the chat? And it's not like, you have to, but just say hi or thanks or something. I don't know. Whatever you want to say, as long as it's appropriate. Just not douchey. Will, thank you, JJ. I'll miss these streams, and thank you for having me as an impromptu guest. I thought that was a really fun concept. I promised myself to never share the link publicly, and it turned out to run without a hitch. I think that was really a fun time. And Will, I'd like to have you on, when I do some, maybe some impromptu live streams on Substack. That'd be kind of cool. Regis Moncton, hi JJ. I enjoyed interacting with you in your live streams. Is Substack a place you could do live streams? It is. The only thing is that there's a limitation to the live stream is you can only do them on your phone. So they're a lot more low tech. The good news is I don't have to pay for a StreamYard subscription. Oh, and I will be keeping the StreamYard subscription open for a little while because next July, there's going to be another live stream. And it's the quarterly live stream that I do with Rachel. We're going to do the live with Rachel and JJ at the end of July. So this is not the final live stream on this channel. I don't know how many more there are going to be, but that's going to be the next one. This is just going to be the final episode of Effluvium. Will you continue the seasonal live streams with Rachel, or will that be done on your live stream? There you go. You had your question answered right there. So yeah, that will be in late July. So yeah, if you do have any suggestions for videos that you would like to see, perfect timing. Yeah. Well, there is one more thing left if somebody's interested. I still am doing Buy Me a Coffee. I'll still happily accept coffees, even, as it's just going to be recorded videos for the most part here, and on my Substack. So I can still do sample packs. Pat received the final 4-bottle grab bag out of many that I have given to people in return for buying coffees over the past 3 years. He was the final recipient. Hoping you're enjoying those goodies. But you could still buy me coffees. If you buy 6 cups, I can send you a sample pack. I'd be happy to do that. And yeah, I mean, that's another thing too. And I think that some people have this thing where like, why is he begging for money? Well, I'm not really begging for money, but time is money as well. And that's another thing too. It's like doing a YouTube channel, unless you're like pumping out content on the regular and you're devoting so much of your time, you don't really make too much money on just being monetized. Like in the past 2 months, 3 months, I've only made $30. So it's not much that comes in. That doesn't even pay for my like StreamYard subscription for a month. So yeah, it's not like you don't make as much as some people would think. Video ideas, your opinion on powdery notes. Love them. Absolutely love them. I know people can't stand them, but I love them. And I would be happy to talk about powdery notes and fragrances at some point in the future. Stick says, I want a video where you show off your house plants if you have any. I used to have tons of house plants. I really did. I was like a plant daddy. Don't take that the wrong way. I used to, when I used to live in Somerville, because now I live out in the suburbs here. This was when I used to report to an office for work. I've worked from home for several years, but I had in my apartment, I had these wonderful, there were these east-facing windows. So it would get all of that like sunlight from the sunrise. And I had all of these cool plants, but I just couldn't, I had a tough time moving them. A lot of them perished. I have one left. Hold on a second. All right. So out of the several that I had, This one I've had for 7 years, and this is my rabbit's foot fern. It's much more rabbit foot than fern. I've had this for 7 years, and I take care of this little bugger here. So that's my one house plant right now. I may get a few more. Definitely not as many as I used to have. I'm going to put this right here. And I'll get him back over to where he was a little bit. Gypsy Doll 227 discovered your channel this week from your Substack post. I truly am enjoying and learning a lot from your channel. Being new to learning about perfumery, do what you can as long as you enjoy it. Oh, it's so sad that you're discovering this after just as I'm ending a 3-year-long series. But you have a whole archive of these that you can watch, and I've just had some incredible guests. So, yeah, definitely watch those and let me know what you think of them. It really means a lot to me that you've discovered the channel. Levi, ooh, that is good to hear. I'm quickly becoming a powder lover. Awesome. Yeah, some people have a tough time with powder. I mean, they have these negative associations, but I just find it so comforting, like especially like at nighttime, you know. So one of my favorite fragrances to wear on winter nights is Tinta Neige from Lorenzo Villoresi, which is like a powder bomb, like heliotrope and iris, and it's just violet. It's just like all powdery. It's really beautiful stuff. Stick says, very cool, man. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, sure thing. Just one right now, but hey, maybe you've inspired me to get back into taking care of houseplants. I think it's a really good therapeutic thing too. And Pat says, I'm definitely enjoying the bottles, JJ, the Lancetti and Tacchini. I think that's pronounced Tacchini. I think I'm pronouncing that correct. I think it would be Tacchini if there was no H. The Tacchini are great for this time of year. I would agree. Yeah, those are really good for this time of year for sure. Glad you're enjoying them. I would love a powder bomb. Lulu by Cacharel blows me away. Nice. Now that's hardcore. That is definitely hardcore. Very cool. Yeah. I'll think about doing sort of like some sort of video or post or something about powdery fragrances. The only thing is like I'm not really as much as in like a powdery mood right now, as the summer is fast approaching here. In fact, we're going to have temperatures that are going to be in the 90s, high 80s and 90s coming up. So powdery scents would be a tough thing for me. I don't know. Some people claim they can wear things any time of the year, any sort of weather. But maybe in autumn, I'll get more into that powdery mood, and we'll do sort of like a profile on powdery fragrances. Sergio Tacchini. Yes. So yeah, this is it. It's a little sad, even though I intended to do this. I wanted to do this. I wanted to wrap this up. For those who are newer to the channel, I also did a series on notes and accords. I think some of you may remember that, and we're enjoying that. So if you're new to the channel, there's a whole archive of notes and accords where I just sit down and talk about fragrance materials, natural and synthetic, pertaining to different things like woods and leather and tobacco and rose and violet and iris and so on and so forth, because I did study perfume making independently, self-taught, autodidact, if you will, for a good amount of time. That's another thing that I've been considering, is revisiting that. So that would be hard to balance all this stuff if I'm trying to revisit that idea as well. So Derek says, in the bog, standard Shalimars, Diorams, Prada stuffs. Oh, my favorite powdery scents are Fragonage Zizani. I was just taking a look at my bottle of Zizani just earlier. Jockey Club, the Gold Cap Jockey Club. JD says, man, always love reading reviews. You ought to publish a book of all the reviews. Would be a great read for frag heads. I'm really charmed by that. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I would love more videos on materials, notes, and accords. Yeah, there's some things that I didn't cover. And, there's one that I kind of wish that I had done during that series. It was actually a live stream like this, but I could do a recorded version of it. And one that I never got around to was just like florals other than rose or violet, that I could just go over all the different materials, natural and synthetic, that, are used to create different floral accords. I mean, there's tons of them. Caron pour un homme le soir is also like classic pour un homme and iris in a blender. Prodified Caron pour un homme, basically. I got what you mean with that. All right, folks. Yeah, we'll work on it. See what we can do with that. I think this is going to be it. This is around the time that I was going to sign off, and this is going to be the final sign off. I want to thank each and every one of you for being there for me and for enjoying this series. It's been a great series, so it's always going to be there for you to watch. You can watch all the episodes; they're all archived, all 3 seasons. So if you haven't seen all of them, now's your time. You have a lot of viewing to do. Strawberry heart. Thank you, Mishi. All right, well, take care, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye for now.